Hello, my lovely opportunists. My name is Winter. I'm the editor and player character of Charity. I just wanted to give everyone a quick reminder to follow our podcast so you don't miss an episode. Thank you for tuning back in, and we hope you enjoy.
Hi everybody, I'm Corey. I'm the Dungeon Master of Opportunity Roll. I'm here with Group 2. Say hi everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
By now you guys have heard Group 1. You know I am currently without voice. And so today we are here with Group 2 to talk about the campaign, recap what everything's going on, and discuss the juicy bits and see what our ideas might be, or potentially what we might think about the campaign and where it might be going, or where we see our characters going. So let's start with introducing everybody. Let's start at the bottom this time. Let's start with Samael.
Immediately muted his mic.
If I didn't, you'd hear that. Again.
Perfect
Okay,
timing.
hold on, and there we go.
Okay. Hi, I'm Samael, also known as John, and I play Lynn, the half-drowned bard of whispers.
Nice. Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura, or TangledinBlue. Yeah.
Gunny.
Hi, I'm Gunny. I play Tensel, the quite curious elven barbarian.
And Blue.
Hello, I'm Blue. I play Zachariah and I am the one who claps, apparently, now.
I want to start our story way back in the very beginning. Back in the very first members of Group 2. We had Zachariah, we had Mila, and we had two other people. I believe we had oh wow, my brain is like spacing on names right now.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. Would either of you guys like to start us off with maybe the beginning?
In the beginning.
I would say that there were 4 people who met along the road, and many came and went as we made our way towards Croca originally. Sorry, let me start.
It's okay.
Hold
on,
How
let's
much
do
do you
this.
want it to be detailed?
You can make it as much detail as you want. We have about an hour and a half, maybe roughly 2 hours for all of this.
Oh, I know Crystal broke, but I'm just saying.
Okay.
I didn't know how much he wanted to talk about. If we were going to summarize mainly the trip, or if we're going to.
So Group 1 touched mostly on the important parts, items found, people that joined the group and then left the group, major events like that. And, you know, we talked about when Nia ended up leaving the group. We talked about a couple of other people that we lost in Group 1. We lost Palace early on. She ended up leaving. And,
Winters?
we lost Winters. We covered that during the crossover part where we were talking about who we had lost. So yeah, there's a lot, and I know Group 2. You guys got a death count.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. It was Farian, Eric, and
Who has died?
well, yes. Who's been in part of Group 2? I
Athera?
can't remember. Yeah, Athera. Thank you. I remember it was being an A. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thera left after she lost her powers.
Which is weird because I
short-
usually remember a lot of this stuff. Sorry.
Yeah, shortly after Eric's death. So okay, let's. All right, Blue, would you like to take it away for Zachariah? You can take a few minutes and compose yourself if you like.
In the beginning, with the story starting, for each person having their own reason to make it to Crystal Brook, each character conjoined on the road there. We started with the group of Farian, Mila, Athera, as we made our way to Crystal Brook. Many misadventures beginning, and very jovial tale to begin with. That would soon sour as we start making our way to our first job together, escorting a now friend Cole to Croca. As we traveled, we lost many people to the lake monster itself, Farian, to foolish and what?
Yeah, let's cover that. So you guys, the first thing that you guys had lost was you guys had just started out your travel. You just exited town. You guys had been walking for maybe a day, had a great time overnight during a fire, and then it was just a horror scene the next morning.
I mean, that and Mila disappeared.
Yeah, Mila wasn't there.
Milo wasn't there. You guys at that point had lost 2 members that just in a night's time. I'm sorry. I just wanted to kind of go over that a little bit more. Continue.
It was about that time that we met Eric, who started traveling with us. With the death of Farian, we squared away and kind of hardened ourselves that we weren't in a nice travel. This was going to be a lot less happy and more serious than we thought it would be. As then we traveled and found our way to a abandoned temple. At this temple,
The Tomb of Ithra, I remember.
Mm-hmm. As we explored it, we looked around and deciding to sate our curiosity, we explored it. As many hardships begun there, starting from the beginning of clockwork monsters attacking us as the temple's main defense, to mimics and demons infesting the empty temple itself. And it's how we lost Eric himself.
It was very unfortunate.
From there, as we start finding out the plot of these demons stealing items, and a particular staff known to locate any object that we found out, the main group started to form itself as we found Lynn and Aeson, who started to travel with us, as we finally started to finalize our trip to Croca.
That's right. For the longest time, Aeson was really a big member of Group 1.
Mm-hmm. He was there for about probably out of game 3 months as we traveled between different places, fighting some dragons and on riding a dragon to flip side to make our way to Croca finally.
Yeah. I believe he also joined the same time. I believe Samael joined as well. You and Rodeo joined at the same time, and both you and his character had run into a group of people known as the Faded Cloak.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's the whole thing.
I think Zachariah had the most experience with that, as he had the or at least out of the group that was known in the episodes, that he had the most direct contact of them interacting with Zachariah, though it was only inferred that they were the Faded Cloak instead of a full confirmation until we found out later.
I'll tell you what, too, we've got some astute people, because there was a question in the earlier section of the game back when somebody had actually just emailed this in. Group 1 had been stopped by 2 bandits early in their campaign. And after they had found out that Maggie was a royal, someone had speculated that those 2 may have potentially been part of the Faded Cloak, hashing out the specs on maybe potentially kidnapping a royal.
That wouldn't surprise me.
It's a really interesting thought.
Mm-hmm.
course, I'm not going to tell whether that's true or not. But
Speculation.
with Samuel coming into the fray, would you like to take over the recap? Are you okay with that, Blue?
Oh yeah.
Oh boy. God damn it, you're doing a good job. I can cover a bit of it. Sorry, it's a bit in my throat.
That's okay. We're all here to help. We'll fill in the details in certain aspects if
So after prior events that you'll just have to wait to find out the details of, Lynn and Aeson had encountered each other at a point beforehand, and after hearing the crashing and rumbling of the changes with the temple, came to the aid of the remnants of Group 2, and found them in a rather dire situation. Decided to stay with them for the night, and one of them, especially Aethera. It was Aethera, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. Aethera being especially seeming at wit's end, seeming to have lost her powers. The next night, after everyone getting to know each other a bit better, happened to have found Aethera had left them, trying to find her own way, trying to make recompense with her god or goddess. From there, as Blue had explained, they had started making their way towards Kroka, fighting dragons and bears and riding dragons and making theirs? I don't know.
Yeah, because at that point, you guys had met. You had been traveling along the road, and I think your quickest route to Kroka was riding the dragon, or am I jumping the gun on that? Am I too early for that?
That was our quickest route to Kroka.
It was. And we were lucky to get that, especially with a bit of information that we encountered on the road before the dragon. Because, oh boy, this little thing. Apparently, it was on a certain night on the road where Mila had let known that she had picked up a crystal back in Crystal Brook from one that was surmised to be Hades himself. When reflected in a certain light, it happened to reveal images, one foretelling of the events that would transpire in Kroka, of a massive dragon that us and others would stand against. And what was the third portrait? Oh yes, the events that would transpire with a group of people that we would soon meet. That was unknown of such a fate to us. The fourth, unfortunately, was not known. But we knew that something was occurring where we are going now. Something was going to happen in Kroka. Something terrible.
Have we ever revisited that final panel?
No.
Nope.
We never did.
We haven't had time, and the crystal's kind of in limbo now as well.
Yeah, it's kind of it's kind of part of a bigger whole now.
Hey, the gym got bigger, as it's a bigger rock now.
Exactly. We should catch a bigger light then, dude.
That rock being Mila.
Sorry. Anyways, yeah, it was basically assumed that if it was wrought and delivered by godly hands, it was definitely foretelling of some sort of prophecy coming, which some took better than others.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It was at that point, especially where we had set off with all the more haste. Aeson practically willing to wreck himself trying to get to Kroka in time, where we had a chance encounter with the dragon who was able to get us on our way.
You know what? There was a very important moment that I need to rewind us for, just for a few minutes. And that's when Mila was playing with her wild magic. And unbeknownst to her, she lost 10 years of life.
Yep.
And that ended up finding its way over to Group 1, changing the age of their companion, Edmund.
Mm-hmm.
So that was directly connected.
Who now, if I remember, he also has some sort of wild magic going on too, if I remember too.
Does. Yes. He seems to he seems to lose it to emotions a little bit too much, which could seem like some sort of wild. It's something we can definitely check out later in the future, hopefully.
Tensel got to watch all that happen.
Speaking of, when this is a perfect segue for me before we get back to Samuel. Tensel, you want to recap us? Because at this point, you had just met Group 1.
Mm-hmm. So Tensel and his best buddy, Winters, had been traveling along the road when we came across an odd group of people. We had met with Maggie and Charity, and who else was it at the time? Nia. Nia was there. So Tensel and Winters got acclimated pretty well. Tensel, he had a hard time trying to figure out his place and figure out, who these people are and why are we, with them. And he got to have a fun little time whenever him and Jericho got to have a little bit of fun. And then there was the heart-wrenching moment for Tensel when we had to give him up after running him so hard trying to get to Kroka. And through all of these experiences, Tensel kind of learned social cues here and there, but he was really nervous about trying to implement any of that in. Not much really happened with Tensel throughout that part of his travels until the big thing went down when they got to Kroka.
Okay, well, we'll pause there because that's when we're gonna have a switch in team there. Let's go back because Lynn, you stopped. Or sorry, not Lynn, Samuel. I'm so used to calling you guys by your characters' names.
I mean, we're doing it from both from in and out of character perspective as well, so it doesn't matter right now.
So, where had you left off exactly?
With the matter of the dragon, also have to back up a little bit because I almost forgot about another thing for Lynn. Especially after the matter with the prophecy. That little start of the budding of the relationship.
Oh, with Cole, that's right. Yeah, so there was during travel some lovey-dovey kind of stuff in the woods, which poor Mila, not sleeping in a trance.
If a dark elf and a human are in the woods, doesn't make a sound. It definitely did.
Answer yes.
And you're right. Moving a little bit forward from that too, there was also something you learned because there was a dragon that let slip. For the first time, you guys had realized that Aeson was the son of the king.
Yeah, Lynn knew something was off with him. Knew something that could be gained from him. Didn't think it'd be that big. But yeah, that's certainly changed a bit of perspective, even though he tried to... Yeah, Aeson tried to enforce that much, even with his knowledge that he is indeed full-on blooded royalty, to not treat him any differently than anyone else. In fact, his main efforts were to try to ingratiate himself and get a better feeling for the common folk in order to serve them better when he has the throne. Mm-hmm. And apparently behind everyone's gaze, seemed to make some sort of offer or agreement with the dragon before it departed again.
Yeah, and that would later play a very big key in what was going to happen in Kroka.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys at this point had landed just outside of Kroka. You were not too far out. Mila, have you spoken about what's happened yet?
So once the group arrived at Kroka, we kind of split up in terms of Zachariah and Lynn going with one of the guild leaders, Valeska, in kind of almost sneaking their way in, while Mila and Aeson used their noble status, mostly Aeson, since elven nobility wasn't recognized in Kroka. And the plan was from there that Mila and Aeson were going to go speak with some of the nobles regarding the prophecy that they saw in the crystal, while Zachariah and Lynn were going to go speak to the head of the legendary guilds. I will mostly talk about Mila and Aeson's perspective here, since so first off, Mila and Aeson, they met Madame Pinta, Dan Brimsworth, who became king of Croca later on, and then the charming Sir Van Duskin. And from there, basically they tried to just make their presence known in the noble court, being that Aeson was the next High King of Graydon, and meanwhile, Zachariah and Lynn, they talked to some of the other, except the heads of the Legendary Guild, which I'm not sure if they want to probably speak more on that or not.
Yeah, we can roll to that. Before we do that, there is getting right back to Gunny real quick. Because Tensel had a very sorrowful goodbye in Kroga, didn't you?
Yeah, he did. It was really hard for him to say goodbye to the first companions that he's really made outside of Winters. Whenever he had to say goodbye to Maggie and Charity, it was hard for him.
Oh no, I'm talking about your donkey.
Oh yeah. No, I already covered that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I covered that part.
I got the timeline wrong. I thought that was the point which you had turned Jericho in. Apologize. Let's see.
I was passing it on to Lynn or Zachariah if they wanted to go over the meeting with the Legendary Guild leaders.
I can handle that. Sorry, my connection dropped.
That's okay.
So, as we all started to get the pieces together, as we started passing these somewhat trials of the guild leaders to kind of see if we were up to the scuff to be able to get their attention for something, as we started to meet with all of these highly known guild leaders. Some good situations, some not. Some understanding, some not. As Lynn and Zachariah kind of, in themselves, also butting heads, trying to work on getting this task done. But as we finally get everyone into the same room, we were able to very quickly get a plan together and almost get it set into motion as disaster happened, as the town erupted. And the big event that everyone was worried about happened sooner than later.
That was also in that email as well. Had you noticed that the amount of dead actually matched the date number instead? So the date was wrong, but somebody had said that it measured the same amount of people who died that day, if we recall how many they had buried.
Oh, I did not realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Sorry, I was concentrating too much on staying alive.
Stay alive.
People are perceptive. I love it.
At that point, rushing to battle, both groups kind of collided together for this epic crossover that we both very much worked together, the two groups, near seamlessly. Certain aspects not being as good, but with a newly formed group, it worked perfectly to stop this slime creature that no one quite understood, but sadly at a cost.
Yes. It did pretty well because I think we had a lot of different perspectives. We had people dealing damage. We had people who were huge, casting spells. We had people who ended up turning gods.
Yo,
We had
Is that
people
correct?
who jumped into the enemy and swam
Red.
deeper.
People who went blind.
People who went blind.
I'm sorry, I don't remember
I
that part.
just got big and swung at things.
And that also
That's what
marks.
barbarians do, kind of.
That also unfortunately marks another loss because as all this was happening and this hadn't been found out, so I'm going to let this drop here. Winters perished while saving a family from a collapsing roof. So Winters died in the line of battle heroically. That marks yet unfortunately another person we lost in the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And then just shortly after that, we ended up losing another. Zachariah, you want to tell us about her?
Mm-hmm. Throughout all of this, while we were preparing for this final battle, to take a step back, an oddity happened. That line of events changed to kind of let it happen. That a girl that was randomly stumbled across, that is Zachariah and Lynn. If I remember correctly, I believe it was Zachariah and Lynn that found Flora.
Yeah. It was, I believe it was after we met the Hammer of Justice and before Tiberius.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of secrets about this girl that very much, I think, intrigued everyone, but especially Zachariah the most, as not just the curiosity of it all, and just the interesting aspect of this person who can read and learn something very instantly. It was also the fact of taking really something that was personal to him and taking very much interest in it as things happened, and these two got very closer as things kind of heated up in the moment up until the final battle with this slime that happened. Unfortunately, where the moment we find out that Flora is a dragon, and the first flight of said dragon, unfortunately brought the end to Flora.
Sorry. Let me mute my dog.
Mm. From there, Zachariah was broken. For someone he very much cared for, which he still, probably even now, really just does not understand at the moment. They were gone. And as much as he tried in the battle, not even helping out as much as he's struggling to fight this ooze and keep it from suffocating Flora, he couldn't stop it. Then to be told by who we found out to be the High King that we all had a destiny. It fell on too much weight on his shoulders that he couldn't take it, as Zachariah walked away. As he went to go bury this woman that he loved. Which started a chain of events that ignited something very interesting. As the moment Zachariah went to go bury this woman, the dragon from before returned. And with a chance meeting with his grandfather, as he takes this special item of his, this potion, that he could not identify, just a keepsake of his grandfather, as he drank it and was able to meet with his grandfather once more in the afterlife, but not for long, as he drank this and discovered a way something that he could do to finally contribute in his way, because that's something that was big for Zachariah, that he felt like he couldn't contribute as much as everyone else. And off started this journey to the north, to the Breville Mountain, as we learned more about Zachariah and the Talor family. Hardship didn't stop there, as Zachariah sacrificed a lot for someone who he barely knew. But still, all the same, he was able to reach the top of the mountain, burnt and charred and very much deformed, with missing a leg. He was able to make his way to the top and get his birthright, this scroll that we would later find is a very rare, probably one-of-a-kind scroll of resurrection. As, with the help of his new friend, Zuzu, he was able to return and avoid execution.
Yeah, because the dwarves didn't want Zachariah having it. They thought it was unbalanced to bring people back from the dead.
Mm-hmm.
Which so far we've not seen anything bad come from that yet.
Mm-hmm.
They are firing off fireworks.
Fun.
Oh, joy.
As we go from there, Zachariah is teleported back, because this mountain held many scrolls of power. That sadly, a lot of items that couldn't be duplicated were used saving Flora. A potion for a highly infectious and deadly disease, teleportation that is hard, if not nearly impossible, to mimic, as well as bringing someone back from the death, as stated before, as Zachariah sacrificed this and much more in this act of, honestly, selfishness, as well as other incidences with him that he took and brought Flora back.
What would you say drove him the most at that point? Because was it because a lot of people speculated it's mostly just a big middle finger to the gods saying not even. And then there were a few who were just like, it was for Flora.
Honestly, in most things with Zachariah, even now, the gods don't factor much of anything into Zachariah's life. He hardly thinks of them, and the only times he does is when they've kind of pushed themselves into his mind, as with the crystals and all the situations they've pushed him in. For the most part, I feel like for Zachariah, it was mainly kind of righting a wrong, kind of being able to step up and fix something he's kind of messed up himself. He still was figuring out things about Flora, but there was something there to drive him to save and, bring her back when he felt responsible for bringing her into this anyway. But I feel like for the most part, there's quite a few people that Zachariah probably would do this for.
Okay. How about we have somebody else take over from. Let's do inside the town while Zachariah's away, and then we'll get back to you landing just for a little bit to kind of break it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Give everybody equal time to speak. Laura, Gunny, you guys want to take that over?
I suppose I can.
Yeah, go for it, Gunny.
Unless Laura wants to.
No, go for it.
All right. So, continuing after the battle itself, Tensel was mostly confused. We had just defeated this great slime monster thing, to only find out that this is just the start from the High King himself, that this is just the beginning and that there's much more to this. He really didn't know what to do or where to go, but he knew it had to get done, and he didn't want to put anyone else at risk. So he took up the mantle on his own, and in turn took it up with both of the groups there. From then, we had the whole ceremony. For him, it felt respected but empty. Yeah, we just did this amazing thing. But to him, he didn't feel like he deserved it. He felt it as it's a duty. Doing the right thing shouldn't need a reward. But he still accepted it either way. And then the crazy news came across that Mila's, what was it? It was not Mila. Maggie's mother had fell sick, and they needed something of my father. Honestly, I can't remember why it had come up that they needed something of my father's, but I didn't want to give up the pendant, like the family crest pendant, or his sword. Those two things are very much too dear. But he's carried around a small, simple box. And he hasn't opened it because he never felt like it was time. And when asked upon, he had presented the box. And before he was ready to give that box up, he opened it to see what his father had left behind. Come to find out, it was part of the ingredients to the potion needed to save her mother. So he had given that to them in hopes to help speed them along. And after that whole situation, he saw it best to stick with Mila and Lynn and to help them, and let Aeson be with Maggie and try to take care of their family. Afterward, it was a lot of where do we go, what do we do, until we got to see Zachariah walk back in. Tensel did manage to meet up with Pimbram during or before the battle itself, and had asked him if he wanted his stuff back because Pimbram had entrusted Tensel with his pack and his cloak a while earlier. And Pimbram, still to this point, Tensel doesn't understand, but he still holds it. He said he didn't want it anymore. He said it was Tensel's to keep. So Tensel keeps a hold of that and takes care of that until one day Pimbram may call upon him. And that's about as much as Tensel really feels in that particular part of the timeline.
Okay. And so let's get back at this point. Let's get back with Zachariah. because you had just gotten the scrolls, you had just kind of come back, you were holding her, and I think that's probably not too far off from when you came back to town.
Mm-hmm. Uh, I would say that it was a very interesting few days after the battles. Zachariah missed a good bit, but there was a lot of excitement afterwards as using this scroll, he brought Flora back and was able to kind of limp into town as both.
That's right.
Both of them were
your foot off.
Yeah. But yeah, both of them were not in good shape as they kind of both made their way back into town.
Yeah. Yeah, because you, during your adventure, had your foot take a dip real close to lava.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was definitely worth it.
So,
but,
sorry, continue.
Oh, no, you were going to ask something?
So, you had pretty much been through all this. The one thing I think there was one thing big on your mind after even going through all that, even after having her come back, even after everything that happened, you still had one worry on your mind.
Yeah. I think the biggest worry in Zachariah's mind was that this was more of the tip of the iceberg, that things weren't over. You don't usually just, cut the head off the monster usually. There's usually smaller things. There's blowbacks afterwards of, things dying down, but there's still problems after the big giant problem that everyone focused on is gone. And I think that took a lot of Zachariah's mind. As even to now, I think that still is something that's stuck within Zachariah's mind. This somewhat paranoia that's stuck in him with dealing with demons.
I wonder why.
Yeah, because as Zachariah laid recovering, getting the surgery done to kind of cut the dead weight off of him.
That's right, because they could not salvage it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was a hard choice.
Well, I mean, not much of a choice. It was something that needed to be done.
True. But there have been people who have had to make that choice, and they were just like, especially back then, they were just like, no, wrap it up. I'll deal with the pain.
Yeah, I mean, children would rather keep splinters in their hands than deal with getting it pricked out, but still.
It's fair enough.
After that, there was a lot to happen, as we didn't stay in town long, as immediately from there, after getting attacked with demons, we kind of trudged off up towards the mountains as we kind of fled the town. Having many things to deal with, and also kind of worrying that the demon problem was something focused on us more than the town itself. So we made our way towards the mountains, as when we left, we met this man who would become a very helpful part of the story, even though he didn't stay for long. I don't remember his name. Khalith. Thank you. Khalith was this, as he looked at the sickly man who was very tall and lanky, as he was very strange, a druid by nature, but even past that, he had some oddities to him, even to people who in the party has been around druids before.
Yeah, a little bit of background about that for the listeners. We had done that year, we had done a full 24-hour live stream for charity, and Dom was a donator, and he got pulled in the raffle for a listener to come on as a guest slot and play with us. So that was really cool to have happen, especially somebody who like listens to us come in and actually like know who the characters are and know where we're at in the story and be really excited about it. I thought that was really cool.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot that happened on that trip, as I think everyone at this point started to have a moment of reflection, of kind of coming to terms with everything, as well as things from the past kind of surfacing at this point. We found many things. We found, an axe and a gun. Thank you.
A mystical boomstick.
Yeah.
Oh,
And-
there's the talking broom.
Yeah.
And my tumor.
Your
I'm a tumor. I'm a tumor. I'm a tumor.
I knew that was
I'm
going
a
to
tumor.
happen.
I'm a tumor.
It's not a tumor. It's
I'm a bit better than a freaking tumor, right?
And for those wondering, yes, it's a
Well, it
little
hurts.
axolotl body. No, I don't know what to name it.
Name it Tumor.
No.
Little Tumor Tiffany.
Even as much as we've covered so far, there is still so much in between that you can't cover all of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard. Who wants to take it on from? Oh my lord, where did we leave off?
We left off at the coming back down the mountain. Well, getting up to the
Yes.
mountain and seeing what was there.
That's right.
I think Zachariah should take over because he had the most things go on
yeah,
there.
That
It's
was
a
been
very
a-
big moment.
It's been a very Zachariah heavy part, so
Yeah.
yeah, I'm okay with him just taking over.
that was a Zachariah arc.
Mhm.
I mean, no comment.
It was too near it. Anyway.
But yeah, continuing back as we started making our way up the mountain, we learned a couple of few things. One, we learned that on our trip, we learned that Lynn had been followed, and we learned a good bit about her that she could probably talk about later, more than likely. Though, as we made our way to the mountain itself, Zachariah learned just what has been happening to him, as he has been going through a slight change ever since he returned back. His, demeanor changed, his hair turning starch white, the cuts and scars upon his body of past decades started to glow and started to form this very intricate runes on his body. As it all came to a head, as we found out within the cave itself, that his grandfather had been guiding him the whole way and started to take him down a new path, down the path that many of his family has went before, as he became a patron for his grandson. As we found the Celeste gems, manifested magic put into physical form, as they all kind of dissipated, as we were able to get just enough as what we needed to help everybody in that situation so far. As we started to change course, with letters sent and receiving that Zuzu had been spared. He'd been exiled, and so there was no more a need to head towards Bravul. We made our way back as we were going to head to Truma as we started descending down the mountain. You want to do it, Sam, since this is a bit your part?
Oh yeah.
Boy, we're coming down the mountain now. Coming back down from the mountains. It was a bit of a time of... We were initially going to head back off to Bravul. since we were also worried during this entire time about Zachariah's friend Zuzu, and trying to intervene in matters there before he was sentenced for his actions alongside Zachariah. We apparently received word back not long after that, fortunately for Zachariah and for Zuzu, he got off with a luckier sentence of basically being banished. So at that point, not really sure of our heading, we decided to head back down the mountains, make our way from the nearest location, and plan a route there and assess what we know. Heading across the gorge with a very dilapidated bridge, we had a time trying to work our way across that. And after a bit of finagling with the cart and some magical resourcefulness, apparently someone decided to target Cole, who was with us for this length of the journey, actually sending him, attacking him while we were making our way across, sending him careening down into the valley. No one took it very well. And by that we mean we just jumped his ass until he was, well,
Pretty much dead. And I think it was really sad, though, because you guys did everything that you could to save him. And if it
Yeah.
hadn't have been for the fact that he stepped back terrified for a few seconds, he probably would have been unscathed.
oh boy.
And then we threw him down the mountain too. Because
Oh,
of
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I found out the guy had
Yeah.
had an issue with him for some reason.
Yeah.
I'll
Apparently,
let you take that away.
yeah. Apparently, it was also discovered backing up a little bit, back to Kroka for the scene between Lynn and Cole, in which he relayed to her that with the appearance of the royal family of Graydon coming into town for the ceremony, he had to make himself scarce due to his prior history with Graydon, basically being an assassin for their cause. Apparently, the one who had targeted him at the mountain pass was one of those affected out of a group. He was somewhat successful. The night after the incident, Lynn basically trying to come to terms with what had occurred. Oh boy, this brings up another thing. She was contacted out into the forest by one of her associates. At this point, it was also established along the way that there was more to Lynn than she tried to hold to her chest. It was revealed relatively early on that to Mila, somewhat jokingly, but not entirely, that she was a information broker. However, it was also expressed a little more after the attack in Kroka, the demon attack against Zachariah. She was part of a bigger network than that. And apparently they had gotten their hands on Cole, keeping him in safe hands for the time being. But at the same time, wanting Lynn to keep an eye on the situation and keep an eye on the one responsible for the attack in Kroka, for the demons running loose, and the ones targeting her organization as well, the demon Zalem. And apparently, now with Cole in good hands, and this additional weight on her shoulders, she had to try to maintain some sort of demeanor as they made their way the next way over to Hazel. Along the path, encountering that lovely little broken gun and a very eerie axe with the demonic mouth just twisted and gnarled. We just threw it in the bag. Not knowing what to do with it, not wanting to test our chances with that thing. And on our way back, and made our way over to Hazel with that new piece on our heads. Once we deal with the Sword of Damocles, we deal with the demonic axes. But in Hazel, while trying to assess our standing, our place with each other, and where we're going to go from here, we were about to send off for a new, relatively low-key job as we made our way over towards Draftmore, until we came across a bit of new information. A flyer stating that the new royal family of Croca, Brimsworth's family, had disappeared. It did not settle well with the group, and unfortunately, having to abandon the job that we had just taken up before we even left town, booked a double time back to Croca, where things were different and a bit unsettled. A curfew was starting to be in effect back in town, and not much information could be gleaned until the next day. And at this point back in town, I'm not sure if Gunny or Mila wants to take over.
Let's do Gunny, and then I'm gonna have Mila end us off. How's that?
All right. So once getting back into town, we kind of go through trying to figure out what's going on, as well as we find out that there's a fighting tournament going on. Of course, Tensel being Tensel, he kind of focuses on the jovial, fun side of it because he knows nothing of political anything, really. So somehow he manages to rope in the entire crew into going into this fighting tournament. We all go in there, not expecting much, but just having a good time with it.
A big bonus was that you also found out how much money you could make too.
Yes, the betting rings were quite enormous for the payouts, as well as the title for the champion of the tournament. Tensel was in it for the fun, but the pay is definitely a good bonus. Him and Violet had a good time just going in there and seeing all of it, and those two had the fun idea of joining in. So after they joined in, we each had our round and had some fun and had a little bit of time in between here, or in between the matches. Tensel and Mila bet, and Tensel lost out, but Mila got a nice little pay bonus to it. I think it was, around 100 gold out of it?
Yeah, about. It also was me being a little bit meta. I remember it's like, yeah, I know how this would go, so but whatever.
Mm-hmm. So they had their fun, and we were resting up for the last little bit before it was Zachariah's fight. And they had the bright idea to try to talk to Tensel about what's been going on and the suspicions that they've had about his father, with whom he had been searching for quite a few years now. And when this broke out, Tensel was drastically overwhelmed by everything. He didn't understand it. He didn't want to believe it. He didn't trust them anymore. And he ran. Just ran and ran and ran. With, unfortunately, a nice little Mila hot on his heels.
I think that might be a good place to hop over for Mila.
Yeah, Mila, kind of definitely feeling a connection toward Tensel, because his father was the one that helped her get out of Neveska, in the first place. Which, to back up a little bit, Tensel did have a vision about seeing his father almost kind of cornered by a bunch of guards as Mila kind of ran off, and it appeared that he was killed, injured, captured. It was really unclear, but circling back, Mila ran after Tensel. She just kept chasing him, and they ended up in about around the Raja Desert, if I remember. And Tensel was confronted by what he thought at the time was his father, who basically kept saying, like, let's just go home, forget all this. And then Mila came. And it was revealed that Tensel's father was taken over by this demon that they have heard about, Zalem.
Didn't you use a wild? You used something for your wild magic.
She used 2 wild magic surges. One got rid of her spell slots. And I think that was the most important one. The other one raised her dexterity, but the fact that she had no spell slots going into this confrontation was really
very unfortunate.
Yeah, because she couldn't defend herself at all. So what happened is Zalem inhabiting Tensel's father's body kind of paralyzed Tensel, and then ended up revealing that he has found many of the so-called of the artifacts that they were told to find. One of which he used on Mila, who ended up knocking her out, presuming, almost seeing that she's dead almost. Tensel brought her back to Kroka, where she became encased in this crystal that really revealed the Celestians, and that's where we left off last session.
So we are stuck with Schrodinger's Mila.
Yeah.
And a trip back to town where tragedy seems to follow for Kroka.
Yeah.
Poor Kroka.
Yeah, it follows Kroka, all right.
Yeah. There's war coming.
It does seem like the tragedy is heading out to Eris now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was revealed by Zalem that the attack on Eris was deliberate, and also the attack on Truma.
As well as many of the other significant points within the continent.
A lot of ties were made that day. He explained how Mila got away, how he had helped use illusions to make sure that she wasn't captured while searching for help for Tensel's father. He reached out. He took Tensel's father and saved him before death. He had planned the murder. He had done that to Dan's Brimworth and all that junk, and he let a lot of slip. A lot of ties came back. The staff from the very beginning, the one that you guys met in Ithra's tomb, that was something he was after. So hard to think that maybe even that demon, little demon, could have been some kind of help. Apparently. Oh, and here's the best part. It was almost so believable at first that Gunny's father might have actually fully believed in this, until eventually he broke the charade and revealed that the deal was, as long as Gunny wasn't hurt, well, Tensel, sorry. As long as Tensel wasn't hurt, then he could basically use the body.
And that's why he was basically just trying to go back home, and so Tensel could be safe.
It'll be interesting to see how things go. So now comes the fun part, where we get to, as a group, sit down and speculate where we think it's going, and wonder about ties and maybe a potential ending to those ties, or talk about the things that we cannot wait to see answered. So I will let you guys decide who goes first, because I know all you guys are kind of biting at the bit to talk about this.
I think it should be Blue that goes first because he's the conspiracy theorist here.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
You always have a lot.
Am I
of good
wrong, though?
ideas.
After every session, I get like a paragraph long, like message. Okay, so what if this happened and then that happened and then maybe
Bullshit. That's only Sam.
Hey, hey.
you said it? Yeah, I get a few from you.
Okay, it's like we try to plan things out, yeah, because we have no idea. There's so many irons in the fire right now.
There's a lot.
Thankfully, Zachariah is not the one in the fire this time.
For once, you were
And
in
this time-
the fire.
So this will be, our second year together. Let's see. We've hit 8,000 downloads. This is a really great story. I can't wait to see. I do have a question.
Hmm.
We were going to talk about where we think what's going to happen with our characters and everything in the future.
Yes, and that's exactly where I want to go with this. After everything that's been said and done, a war's been started, people have been murdered, the whole world is in devastation right now, and countless people have lost their lives thanks to the actions, unfortunately, of whoever is in control of Tensel's body, with Tensel's father's body. Is there hope of getting him back? I mean, I'm sure for some there might be, but my real question is, do we all believe he's savable?
Nah.
Of course you'd say that.
I mean, it makes sense. Exactly. I mean, like, hell. My character literally has issues with father figures, so it makes sense.
We
But,
all have issues. This is the daddy issue group, so
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, that's both groups.
No, I'm perfectly straight with my father, yo. I'm gonna go help him slay the entire nation. At some point, Tensel's gonna come to the understanding that he has to kill his father.
I mean, it's a practical understanding, yeah.
Yeah.
Whether or not that comes sooner or later, it's gonna be quite devastating.
It's certainly an eye-opening moment for him.
We'll see if he mentally survives that, though.
oh,
Yeah.
Tensel.
The worst part is that could literally apply to quite a few people in the podcast too, still all the same in the future.
Mm-hmm. I think Mila, little background, she still looks at Tensel's father as almost kind of like her personal hero for getting her out. Just, like he's right now taken over by a demon, but she thinks that he could probably be saved. But can she be saved?
Yeah.
I'm going to make this fun for you guys, because you guys kind of like poking me a little bit for information, and I kind of like giving it to you a bit. So here's what I'm going to do. There are times in the stories where there could be ties that have been unanswered. If you guys question those, if you guys have one in mind, you can ask it to me. If it's not important or it may never be talked about again, I can give you that information. Or if it's important, I literally just leave it with the word important.
Interesting.
Huh.
And we can do that throughout this entire time. We don't have to make an entire section. Just anytime you think of one, I'll do that for the rest of this recording.
Okay. I mean, I will try to think of them, but my
It's
brain's
okay if you don't have any. I just figured it'd be fun.
not at the moment because I'm thinking about other things.
What was the importance of the first bandits attacking Group 2?
The importance of that one was actually that their group was passing through, and if they had been traveling just a little ways north, they would have run into Jace's group, who was traveling from where Group 1 was over at Groggy Hill. So it was either rolled between you or them, which was one of the D100s that you guys rolled that day. And you rolled, I think it was like within 2 numbers of the number that I had. And I usually give like a 5-number pocket. And so you guys ended up getting those bandits instead. If you hadn't, they could have been. You guys maybe could have ran into them or completely passed over without even knowing they'd been attacked. Which means you guys probably wouldn't have met him in Croca again when he was doing the betting.
But we would have never had to dealt with the pot.
That's true.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Am I like the only few that actually remembers a lot of Prime Group 1?
You know, it was so long ago, and I haven't listened to those episodes in a while.
Oh,
so.
I haven't either. I haven't listened in so long, but I just remember so much of it.
I will tell. I can say a name right now that immediately blew Group 1 back all the way to Episode 1. One of the first members who joined, her name was Palace. Oh man! As soon as I said that name, it was like a wave of just like, oh, I remember. It was amazing.
Sorry, I'm getting nostalgic.
Yeah, to go back to the original question, I Zachariah is not going to be in the mindset of thinking to save him, to be honest. Since, I don't know if we moved on from that question or not.
Yeah.
I mean, and Lynn's got tons to think about already, and now she's being questioned as well.
Yeah, because it was also dropped that Lynn knew about your friend not being dead.
Yeah, but
it was also dropped that Cole's not dead.
Yeah, that was dropped, but I think Tensel did hear that, so
both you and Tensel heard that.
Yep.
What do you know about Aethera, Sam?
That's the major thing. Like, yeah, something's up with Flora/Violet.
Yeah.
No, something is up with her.
Oh, something's up with her?
Yeah.
What do you think's up with her?
I mean, knowing about the situation with Croca.
Oh. Sorry, I just remembered something.
But yeah.
Is there any worries that maybe there's some latency between maybe some bad side effects?
Yeah, I mean, she was
warned, and coming back from the dead.
She was warned about it by her friend about that. It's like they don't come back. It's like don't trust those who come back from the dead. They never come back right.
I mean, she can't do any of her magic anymore. Because she was setting up on magic last episode. I remember that.
No, she was showing that she still has some control, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she had learned that she can still cast, but cannot transform.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I misunderstood that. Okay.
Aside from like the weird minor transformation with the sneezing.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it?
That is weird. Yeah,
So it's with that. So it's with that. Her knowledge about this sort of stuff. Something's off. But unfortunately, she can't question it because Lynn can't question it because Tensel's run off, Mila's run off. Now this is happening after they come back. Zachariah is now getting on her case about it, and she already promised she's going to say something about it, but now everyone else is in this situation.
Don't think you're getting away that easy, Sam.
I doubt it, Zachariah. She knows that he's not going to let it that easy. That's why she trusts him with some information in the first place.
You might be a note taker, and you might keep notes in that book, but I am a book reader. I read all books.
I read all the things.
I read your books. I read them all.
Okay, I'm gonna say something. I am still surprised that in the one situation when Mila actually went to use the Ascending Stone, she didn't try to read her book.
No, because I think she was very much focused on trying to contact Aeson with that. And I think that she just was like, contact Aeson, tell him everything that he needs to know.
So there is, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, and I don't know how much you guys want to listen to. This may go completely over everybody's head. but somebody had pointed out there seems to be a description of a person in the background. A lot of your scenes with the same description, and it's not somebody that you guys normally even speak to, talk about, or even go around.
Mhm.
What do you mean? That's just the cameraman. We can't
Oh
talk to
yeah,
the cameraman.
sorry.
You
Canon,
don't point
cameraman. There you go, guys. You heard it here. That
Oh,
random
God.
person.
I'm having Kid
Canon.
Nation flashbacks.
This is some total Drama Island stuff.
Oh,
Oh, no.
Don't hit me with
Trust me,
that
if you
now.
think Total Drama Island's bad, Kid Nation is so much worse.
I know.
Literal older men filming kids crying, real kids crying.
Didn't they drink bleach?
Yeah, they drunk
Okay.
bleach. What the
All
fuck?
right. Here at Opportunity Roll, we do not condone drinking bleach. Thank you.
Okay.
Please stop before I make a joke.
So, all right, I think this is a good time to start wrapping up. I want everybody to have either one last thing they want to ask somebody else, or maybe a general question they want to know from the group. And if you guys don't have any, that's fine too. Don't feel pressured. But if you have one, go ahead and share it.
I got one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe no. That needs to wait till next episode.
Oh,
Do it.
You sure?
Do it.
Okay. How would the group feel if Tensel leaves?
Oh.
Honestly, I've talked about this to Sam already. Sam knows full well how Zachariah already feels about this in the future. Honestly, if Mila dies, I don't think it would affect Zachariah too much.
Wow.
Because we already talked about the balance of things and how things are going to happen to Zachariah. No matter what the outcome of this Mila situation is.
He was changed. He was forged by the fires.
So, all right, I keep saying, and I keep downplaying it, that, you know, this doesn't mean Milo's dead. This doesn't mean Milo's dead. This doesn't mean Milo's dead.
I mean, yeah, but there's a
But in all
possibility.
actuality, there's a fair chance Mila could end as a character.
Oh yeah, no, I'm prepared for it.
How's your second sheet coming, by the way?
I mean, we should, legitimately, we should keep that in mind as a possibility.
No, I mean, like, it's definitely
Oh,
back
yeah.
in my mind to let that, like,
I know
Yeah,
Tensel has no idea how to do anything of this nature.
Yeah. I mean, like, legitimately, though, as much as, like, Zachariah, I already have a second character planned. That stuff's already set in my mind.
yeah, I think it's something. But back to Gunny's initial question. How do people think if Tensel left? I mean, depending on the information relayed and with everything going on, and with Lynn's mindset right now, she would understand and feel totally responsible.
Just to kind of clue you guys in and the viewers, Tensel is battling with the thought of having to hunt his own father, especially with what's happened to Mila.
I mean, Mila would not be happy if Tensel left.
Sorry.
But
I was reading something. Sorry.
no, I mean, that's, again, if she survives, and he ends up leaving, she would not be happy. I can't say what she'll do about that. We'll have to wait till if it happens. Hope it doesn't, but we'll see. All depends.
Would Mila potentially surviving change that for Tensel? Especially if she believes he can be saved.
possibly could persuade him to stay under the guise that it's now our job to hunt him down and put a stop to destroying what's left of the country.
So I'm not going to say what Mila would say, again, in case it comes up. But I'm already working on like a whole speech about this in my head. This is how my mind works sometimes.
4 scores 7 years ago.
You know what? And that's a good kind of thing to do, because I think what makes this so fun and what makes being able to run through stuff like this and have a story is that you guys do think on this stuff. You take time and you think about how characters will react, how they'd pretty much be, and you stay true to that. If they'd leave, they leave. If they'd kill somebody, they'd kill somebody. If they wouldn't, then they wouldn't. And
Yeah.
it's really nice to see that the effort is what I'm saying is very well appreciated.
I'm going to be honest. I had this whole thing planned out for Mila to say to Zachariah when he left and if he came back. But Mila held that back, seeing that, like, oh, he doesn't have a foot.
Yeah, that generally stops a lot of the conversation.
She's like, okay, I should be a little bit nicer to him. I guess.
I was gonna tell you off, but you don't have much of a leg left to stand on.
Ha!
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be true to the dice, but honestly, I really hope none of y'all die, because it's really hard to enter in another person's backstory into this crap.
No, I mean, like,
It's
again,
not just tie destiny. The gods say, "Here you are," and you're chained because like they're doing already.
I mean, the character that I have in mind maybe could work somehow. But again, I really hope Mila doesn't die. I'm very attached to her.
Actually, now I have a bit of a question. Like, Blue has a bit of insight, but for Laura and Gunny, oh boy, especially for Gunny, oh boy, for Tensel,
With
this insight with like Lynn holding back on something else beyond that, how's that affect your view? Especially like since things were getting a bit better between the two of them. They were starting to acclimate and interact more, starting with the broom and just general with the periscope and telescope rather, and everything. And now this.
Periscope. Sorry, go on.
God damn it! No.
I thought I was muted.
Anyways, but yeah, that view of Lynn and depending on how things go, what she might reveal. What are you thinking?
From Tensel's point of view, it seemed to him that she had just learned this. He doesn't think that there's more to it, but he's obviously not that smart of a character.
Well, it's going to be a bit different for Zachariah. Because Zachariah is definitely at a point of thinking that even though what's going on with him, Lynn is very much starting to show signs of just like schizophrenia or something. That she's going mental. Because she keeps talking about things that he's not seen. What it has set him off, but it's still he hasn't seen anything. All this information from nowhere, and then still at the worst part, I think once it all comes out, I think it's going to be. It's like Zachariah might have more wished it was mental than it was these big secrets for so long.
Again, this all factors into Mila surviving.
But if Mila does survive,
No, if Mila does survive, that's what I'm trying to think. She would be a little bit hurt by the fact that Lynn has kept secrets from her. Just because like she views her as a friend and everything, and
would it sway that the argument maybe could have been made that the less people who knew, the less chance of him being in danger?
No.
No,
No.
that's fair enough.
that would probably affect Mila.
Wow.
And I
You would understand that.
would say, out of all the people in the group, even with Aeson, Mila technically knows more about her.
No, yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that's why like I'm basing my opinion on that is like because Lynn did tell her a little bit about like everything going on with her. So she knows a tiny bit already, so that's why I'm thinking that like this won't affect her as much as probably other people. She'll be hurt, but
Understandable.
she'll get over it.
All right, guys. I got one last question for you to end the night.
Is it a viewer question?
Ooh.
Kind of. It's what everybody has been speculating. What exactly is this demon after? What is his final end game?
It's the end of the world as we know it.
I shall bring back the Titans and conquer the world as my own.
I think he's setting up the way for the great old ones to re-enter the world.
Honestly, with political turmoil happening, it's very interesting, but if I am probably seeing that it's going to be a demonic invasion that I see happening. Because with kingdoms unable to fight and unprepared, it makes it a lot easier, I feel. But
Yeah, that's like along my lines of thinking as well, because you're creating a lot of instability, you're having a lot of attention everywhere and off you for the most part. You're taking advantage of what is already a very fractured state. And
So you think it could be a way to weaken the kingdoms?
that, and also the end goal for him is the artifacts in some regard. Whether they tie into some greater mechanism or something, as long as you can keep eyes off of him in the meantime.
yeah, the Infinity Stones.
Oh my god.
Pretty much.
Though I will say, it happens every time. Not only is it like tournament arcs, but war arcs also are interrupted by bigger events. Every time.
In comes Shukaku.
See, my mind is just kind of like, I know most demons are very chaotic, so I think it's just like absolute fucking chaos.
Is this demons or is this
Devils.
devils? Because I think we've been using the word demon as kind of a nomenclature. I don't know if we've actually got a set designation, because imps are devils, are they not? I believe they are.
Or is there not difference in this world?
There's a difference. I'm just being in general type of.
So we know
for
it's
the listeners, they might not know the general classifications of everything that we've seen, but a lot of them are from basically a darker realm, a different.
A demonic presence.
we know they're fiendish in general, but we don't
Yeah.
know their classification. We haven't interacted with them much aside from the imp, the demon that attacked. I mean, the entity that attacked Zachariah. We don't even know that one standing entirely. And now this one interaction with Zalem.
Hard to think the walls are getting that weak in between.
I mean, yeah, I'm still going with my thing with absolute fucking chaos.
Well, guys,
I was trying
I
so
think-
hard not to say Jebel.
I think that is a good place to end it for the night. Tune in next week as Group 1 continues on the story, and then again the week after as Group 2 continues in on the story. In the meantime, we are going to be here within the next few weeks. I'm going to be putting out a demo for an RPG thing that I made for Group 1. It's a little lame. It was a lot of fun to make. But if you guys want to try the demo,
I remember seeing you make that. Yeah.
so that'll be out here soon. We're putting the final touches. I think the demo pretty much follows Group 1 up until the events at Cole's house. So you get a nice little chunk of the adventure there.
Oh, that one.
And eventually I won't, I can't put everything in there. But I'll try to make a pretty solid run through for Group 1. And then eventually when Season 2 gets made, I'll be working on one for Group 2 for Season 1.
Hello again, opportunists. My name is Winter, and I play Charity, the Tiefling Cleric. I wanted to say thank you for listening to us. We hope you enjoy our episodes as much as we do. Don't forget to like and follow our podcast so you don't miss an episode. Special thanks to Purple Planet Music, as we use their music for our ambience and sound effects. Also, thank you to Kobold Press, as we use some of their monsters to keep our games feeling lively. Again, just a huge thank you to you guys, our listeners, for enjoying this journey with us. And remember, keep your opportunities open.
I am not in danger, Skylar. I am the one who...
Collapse.
They were all in love with dying. They were drinking from a fountain that was pouring like an avalanche.
Coming down the mountain.
I don't mind the sun sometimes.
Oh, why do we even have an editor?
Raw, uncut.
Oh.
We're just gonna edit all Zachariah. It's just like.
Oh wow!
Suddenly all
These takes were asked.
It's just...
Suddenly an episode. Your voice has been replaced by a rubber ducky.
I am a girl trip now. Hey, Geralt never lost his leg.
So, this is the opportunity to roll roast.